Well, I guess 2015 has seen a lot of convergence, a lot of M&A in the ad tech and martech space, which has really enabled lots of new companies to come into the sector. But from a more localized perspective, where I focus within the mobile space, we've seen a lot of premium publishers now pushing their inventory into open exchange and private marketplaces due to the controls that supply-side platforms are now offering publishers. So whereas many years ago, the mobile programmatic sector was perceived by marketers to be full of remnant inventory, today there is a lot of premium inventory that's available, coupled with first-party data, and that is really fueling adoption from big brands investing in the mobile programmatic sector.
So the most significant advancement in programmatic trading from a data perspective is companies leveraging their first-party data assets into their programmatic buying decisions. So being able to not just digital data but offline data and influence that into your bidding trading activity is really where we're seeing the movement.
The key areas to watch out for in 2016, I think I've said it today earlier on the panel, I think ID management will play a big role next year. And what I effectively mean by that is marketers trying to understand who their customers are and then building out holistic IDs for them. So in the sector at the moment, it's very difficult for marketers and agencies to plan, buy, manage frequency and attribution holistically because there's cookies, there's device IDs, there's some browsers that accept third-party cookies, there's some browsers that don't. So it's quite complex for a marketer to get that overarching view of their customer and target them in an efficient way. So I think next year we'll see lots of big brands really activating their first-party data and building out either a deterministic view of their customer or a probabilistic view of their customer, enabling their agencies to plan and buy them in a more efficient way using ad technology to do so.
I think the key issues are basically we've still got this kind of leftover from when programmatic was this mystical beast where no one really knew what was happening. It was very complex. There was technology conversations, data conversations, imagery conversations, all happening in complete chaotic mess. We're still going to probably have to get out of that. We're still going to be paying for some of the mistakes that we've made in the past by advertisers, by agencies, and by technology vendors. 2016, with the increase in spend, with the maturity, which is by no means fully matured, of programmatic, we'll probably see those problems start to come to the fold again. Like people who've made decisions with technology years ago will probably be reevaluating those decisions these days. Equally, we're going to have some realism, as I mentioned on my panel. Like we need to have more honest conversations around the capabilities of technologies, where the money is going, if you can actually deliver what you're saying you'll deliver, and also the reality of the fact that not everything is cheap as chips. Like you can't just have a £1 CPA for the rest of your life. Like audiences change, inventory changes, and with that comes fluctuation in pricing.
So I think one of the challenges that I faced this year, and I think I will continue to do so next year in programmatic, is viewability. So my biggest challenge with viewability is that there are so many different partners out there, and each of those partners has their own methodology. So if you're trying to work with another publisher and you're trying to understand the performance of your campaigns and what your viewability rate is, it's really challenging when they're using one partner and you're using another. And as an advertiser, when they're using different methodologies, it's difficult to understand which methodology should I use. And additionally, alongside that, the IAB standard for display is 50% for 1 second. And the challenge that I find with that is that I don't think that's enough, especially for TUI as a brand where it's quite a high ticket purchase. I think it's difficult to really engage and interact with a customer when only 50% of your ad is being seen for 1 second. So I think understanding what your own viewability currency should be is a big challenge. And then additionally, also alongside that, once you have this understanding of what your viewability rate is and you have those reports and you're comfortable with the data, actually understanding, well, what do I do with that data and how do I optimize my campaigns is a challenge that I don't think that we've overcome this year, and that's why I think it will go into next year too.
I think one of the key issues we need to look out for in 2016 will be the issue around viewability. There's a lot of clutter in the marketplace at the moment, both for advertisers and consumers. So from an advertiser and a brand point of view, they need to make sure that ads will get seen. One of the only ways to do that is to look for 100% viewability in the advertising they're buying.
So I think in 2016, specific to programmatic, there's going to be a lot of discussion around viewability still. So we haven't really kind of got the right measurability in place just yet. So I think you're going to see more and more people trading on viewability and being asked to have viewability as a buying metric. So I would see that coming to the fore. And I also think there'll be more movement into different device types. So we'll see not only mobile and video, which are the obvious ones, but more unique and richer formats as well being available programmatically, which hopefully means more brand budgets.
I think that it's finally being recognized that creativity is being slightly lost when it comes to what brands are doing programmatically. So an average ad campaign now has multiple line items across multiple screens. And unfortunately, the same creative in many cases is being played out across all of those screens and all of those line items. I think the industry is finally starting to realize that actually the creative needs to reflect what's being done in terms of targeting. And I think next year we'll begin to see a realization that the creative has to be relevant for the person it's targeting, where it's targeting that person, and which screen that person is being targeted on.
So the key issues to look out for in 2016 are really going to be around, again, from a data perspective, how companies can continue to build on their existing data asset and leverage other data partnerships out there. So the rise of second-party data or private data marketplaces is one that we see on the up.
So what are the biggest issues that aren't being discussed today? So for me, I think the one thing that I hear time and time again is how easy programmatic is for everybody and that the ad tech stack is all in place. I actually think one of the challenges is that it's usually complex, and actually there are too many ad providers in this space and all do a very, very niche part of that overall process. So I think one of the big things that nobody wants to talk about is really how we get true consolidation of ad tech. Every year everyone talks about it, and what happens is we see companies and processes multiply. So we really have to challenge better efficiency in technology and actually getting tech to do what they say they do and not what their marketing teams say that they do.
If I'm looking at one of the biggest issues that are not being discussed in the sector at the moment is mobile. It's not necessarily an issue, it's something we need to grapple with of how consumers are now adopting the mobile as their primary device, the device that they engage with first. And in this way, as advertisers, we need to make sure that we are really focusing on how we use the mobile phone to its best effect with the least annoyance for the end user as well.